Hello and welcome to ACS Golf and this week's review. I'm looking at this, the Titleist TSI3 Hybrid. Now, the reason I picked this up, well, there's a few reasons I picked this up. Firstly, because I think this could be a great option out there on the second-hand market for your better player who's watching this video, who likes long irons, but just wants that little bit more forgiveness and maybe a little bit more distance. And that's exactly where this TSI3 sort of range comes in. You know, it's not as forgiving as your normal hybrids. The profile's a lot smaller because the whole point is it's supposed to be workable like your long irons. So therefore, like I mentioned, a great option for your better player who wants a little bit more forgiveness over sort of your longer irons, but still wants that workability. And also with all the adjustment in this club as well, you can really dial it into your swing. The second reason is, let's be honest, as I always say, with the majority of clubs that I review on this channel, nothing's really changed over the past couple of years, especially when it comes down to modern day clubs, because they're at the limit of what they can do with them due to regulations. So even though this is the TSI3, which was released in 2021, and now you have the TSR3 currently, which is about to be replaced by the GT line from Titleist. I'm assuming there'll be a GT3. I know there's a GT3 driver, so I'm assuming they'll also be releasing a hybrid, GT3 hybrid, which again will have that same adjustability on the bottom. Because of that, this is going to be even more cheaper than it is right now on the second-hand market, because it is going to be the third version that's out, and therefore it could be an absolute steal. I mean, the price at the moment it's at is pretty good. So that's why I picked it up to try this week for you guys. Now, as always, what we're going to do is we're going to have a closer look at this club, come back here, go for all the technology that's in it, get down to the range, throw some figures at you, and then come back here for the ACS Golf Scale. All right, as always, let's have a closer look at this club. So there you go, and a very traditional looking hybrid. When there's nothing on the top there at all, which is definitely suited for your better players. I mean, normally with hybrids and your average hybrid, you'd have that sort of that alignment aid there on the top. I know my Ping G430 does. However, with this club you don't, which definitely suits the better players that this club is aimed at. And also with Titleist, you know, very good, simple looks, nothing too garish. Very, very nice indeed. A very traditional, better player hybrid shape there. So now going into all the technology that's in this club from Titleist, and this is exactly what this club is aimed for. So precise distance for players seeking an iron-like hybrid that provides precise control for trajectory and shot shape. Features SureFit CG track technology and SureFit hosel adjustability for player tune accuracy. You could get this in 18 degrees and 20 degrees. 3 hybrid was 20, 18 degrees was a 2 hybrid. So 1 degree more than your average hybrid. Basically for that reason is, you know, to help control, a bit more spin perhaps, also to hold the greens because, you know, more loft creates more spin. When it came out, it's around £245 in the UK. I think the US was probably about $300. And it came out, as I mentioned, in 2021. So moving on, we have the thin, fast face. So all the technology here, so thin, fast face. From the Carpenter 455, forged face comes the fastest hybrid face Titleist has ever made that delivers faster ball speeds and increased forgiveness. Fantastic. Performance-tuned adjustability. So the TSI3 hybrid features Titleist patent SureFit hosel with 16 independent loft and lie settings, plus headweight adjustability to create a more consistent and optimized ball flight through precision fitting. So you could get this, obviously, this head weight change depending on your swing. And this is the thing with Titleist and Ping, you know, if you ever really want to get one and you really want to get it dialed in, it's probably always a good thing to get a fitting because they really can change these clubs a lot. They really can. And the SureFit hosel, there you go, on all their clubs, well, all their woods, all adjustable. So the TSI2 was, TSI1 was, you know, going into their fairway woods, going to drivers, you know, all adjustable there. With the idea, you can increase the loft by 2 degrees and decrease it by 1 degree. You can also make it upright by 2 degrees and decrease it by, so make it flat by 1 degree. You could do it without having to change because a lot of the clubs you do are tailor-made. For example, if you increase a loft, you tend to close the face. Tightly is quite good as you can increase a loft and actually keep the lie the same, which I really, really like about their adjustability. Because for me, I tend to like to loft things up, just helps me to get the ball in the air, but I do tend to hit a draw. So last thing I want to be doing is actually closing that face. So I really, really do like Titleist's fitting. Their Sure Fit technology they have there, it's really, really good. On to Sure Fit CG track technology. So the TSI3 models are the 3 unique positions. So you've got toe here, you've got neutral in the middle, and then you've got heel there. So the idea is heel is going to, close the club face coming around, so it's going to be more sort of draw biased. Toe is obviously going to be a bit more fade biased, and then neutral, the idea that shot is going to be straighter. So to adjust the club head CG and fine tune your ball flight, after adjustment, the new track design disappears into the sole of the club to allow for a smooth turf interaction on impact. So I'm just going to quickly show you this. So I did this down the range. So at the moment, you can see it is flat. Put it in, you get it up, and then there you go. Look at that. And then there is the weight, and you have the weight there. You can move it up and down. Stick it, let's say, in the neutral position right now. Close it back down again. It just pops in there. And then boom. Nice and closed. Perfect. So there you go. So really good technology there. And I did move them around when testing, and I moved the weight from neutral. I kept the neutral for the majority of it because, like I said, I do generally hit draw. And I moved it into toe, and it was definitely giving a fade and pushing it out a little bit more to the right. So definitely does work moving that weight around, which is really good. Sometimes you get these clubs, you try moving the weights and they don't really see that much effect. With this, I definitely was seeing some effect. Maybe not some as well, it's larger effect as they probably say and all these things, but I definitely was seeing a more ball flight coming out to right and tending to go, right to left to right using that movable weight at the bottom there. So good technology. Only issue I have with it is that you don't even see it that well. I'm sure when you had a close-up of it, you did. There is green on there where it has hit basically the mat at the range, and it's actually stuck to it. I can't get it off. And I seem to see quite a lot on the second-hand market like this. It's a bit of a shame, really, because it's plastic there. Maybe I should change it to another material to stop that from happening. Moving on to feature shafts, obviously they have 4 world-class options. So you get hazardous, tensai, Karura cage, I believe, as well. Lots of really good shaft options there. So as I mentioned, going into it, you could only get this in the 18 degrees and the 20 degrees. If you wanted different, TSI2, which is very much middle of the range, had that forgiveness and that distance, but less workability. The TSI3, and you didn't have the adjustments either. You could tell with that difference as well. The TSI3, you've got the weight at the front there, lower CG at the front. It's going to be a lower ball flight, and it's going to be sort of less spinning and, more workable basically. With the TSI2, you had the weight at the back, and then the TSI1, which is for your lower swing speed players, you had a lot of weight at the back there. And so the TSI2, just going into quickly, 18 degrees, 21 degrees, and 24 degrees. And then, so basically, the 3 hybrid for the TSI2 was 18 degrees, which just, again, says everything there. Because they put so much weight at the back, with 18 degrees, they can really get that ball still in the air without having to have the same sort of degrees, loft as this one, which is 20. And then the TSI1, which is ultimate forgiveness, slower swing players who's going to need that loft. You've got 20 degrees, 23 degrees, 26 degrees, and 29 degrees as well. So there you go. All right, guys. So there's all the technology that's in here. A lot for quite a small little package. Let's get down to range, and then we'll come back here for the ACS golf scale. All right. See you in a bit. So here I am down at the range with the TSI3 hybrid. Now, on average, what I'm looking for a hybrid is really around that sort of 210 total yards, carrying near the 200 yards. So let's jump straight into those figures. By the way, I only managed to get the tracker to work on a few of these. Not all of them, unfortunately, but never mind. Now, going to the figures, on average, I had a carry of 196 yards, total distance of 207 yards, ball speed of 134 miles per hour, launch angle 14, and height 71 feet. Now, not the end of the world, still relatively happy with those figures, but, a little bit shorter than I normally have. I did hit a few, which I really did nail out the middle of the club, where I got carry up to 208 yards and total distance around that 220 mark, which really happy with that. And ball speed was only a slight increase there. So obviously the forgiveness of this club isn't as good as you'd sort of maybe hope for a hybrid, but then it's not supposed to be. It's really supposed to be that more workable, real sort of maximised distance club. Overall, though, pretty happy with the performance. Just don't think probably this hybrid is the one for me. Here you go. Here's a quick table of the results. Only average, the longest and the shortest. As you can see, the longest is quite a bit up there, and I think that really just shows that when you get this club out in the middle, it works really well. If you don't quite catch it, you really do lose some figures, but overall, pretty good. So there you go, and some interesting figures, to be fair. For me with the hybrid, I'm more looking sort of total distance around that 210 yards, and I was low, I was down below that, I was at 207 yards on average. However, that's not the true story about this club. So if we look at the longest on the day, when I really got it out the middle of the club, then suddenly when I was getting carry of 208 yards, I was getting a total distance of 222 yards, ball speed of 137 miles per hour, which isn't that bad. Ball speed's just a little bit above the average of 134. And again, I did another shot, 208 yards, again carry, 218 yards total distance, ball speed 138 miles per hour. The launch angle wasn't quite as nice as the other shot. That's why I didn't go as far. But it really does show you that, well, hold on, there's a lot of distance in this if you can get out of the middle. But if you don't get out of the middle, suddenly it drops down, because the majority of the shots where I didn't necessarily think I'd put a bad swing on it, I thought I hit it quite well. I was looking sort of average around that 205 mark, which isn't bad for a hybrid. Anything over 200 yards really I'm happy with, but it's 5 yards short, sort of that 210 mark that I'd sort of really want my hybrid to be averaging at, or at least close to. So that would have been 5 yards shorter of that. And so that really not necessarily discusses the distance of it, but really discusses the forgiveness of it, which we'll get to in a second. Now, when it comes down to distance, I'm actually going to give this a 4.5 out of 5. I think if you get it out the middle, it is a long club. If you look at all the reviews from 2021 when it came out, they'd say it is up there with the longest that were released at the time. It really is. With that CG at the front, it is a long club. And anything I can get like 222 yards total distance, I mean, that's near my 3-wood mark, really. Maybe just a little bit low my 3-wood, but that is impressive, especially from the fact that the head's actually 20 degrees. I didn't decrease the loft. I kept it at 20 degrees as well. So a little bit weaker than your sort of normal hybrid. So really happy with that. So I'm giving it a distance of 4.5 out of 5. Moving on to the next ACS goal scale, we're going on to feel next. Feel, I was a little bit disappointed about the feel, actually. I've played the TSI2 fairway wood. I've played the TSR2 fairway wood. I've actually got the TSR2 fairway wood. Not currently in the bag. I've got a 5-wood in the bag, but when I want to place it for the 3-wood for maybe longer courses, or if there's wind around, or etc., whatever, it feels really, really nice when it's in the bag. It feels lovely. It's one of the best feeling fairway woods I have tried. Didn't get the same feeling with this hybrid. Now, it could be because of this weight along the front. Obviously, it's going to make it feel a lot more dull, which it did. It doesn't feel horrendous, but again, it just didn't. It just felt a little bit harder than I was hoping, to be honest. I was hoping with that forward face it's going to feel nice and soft. It wasn't feeling that personally. I mean, a lot of reviews said they've really liked the feel of it, but I wasn't a massive fan. And also, those shots where I hit really, really well, there's nothing in there that I went, oh, I've nailed that. So maybe the feeling around the face, if I was just off-centered or anything like that, I couldn't really tell the difference. So overall, don't get me wrong, it doesn't feel bad. So overall, I'm going to give it 3.5 because it doesn't feel that bad. It really doesn't. It's still nice compared to other ones I felt. But because I have such a high opinion of the TSR to fairway wood, because that just feels gorgeous, I was disappointed with this. And that's probably the main reason. I think if I'd never tried a Titleist fairway wood, maybe I would have been a little bit more happy with the feeling of this hybrid, but because I know what they can do Titleist when it comes down to clubs and feel, I was a little bit disappointed, but that's why I'm still giving it 3.5 out of 5, because I think it's still very good. Well, but pretty good, but just not as good as I think normal Titleists are. But then it's most likely down to weight at the front of the club. You know, if you get weight down at the front of the club, you do tend to get that harder feel off the face. On to looks. Looks I'm going at 3.5 out of 5. You know, very good, subtle looks. You know, happy with it. Just for me, I much prefer, you know, that sort of more forgiving, you know, hybrid shape. I'm not a massive fan of this, or when you get the bulge there, it comes in there. Just never been a fan of it. You know, a lot of, I think Callaway, a lot of the Callaway sort of hybrids look a bit like that. I much prefer sort of my Ping. There you go. You know, you got that sort of more rounded shape, really. That's what I prefer. So 3.5 out of 5. Still looks good. Still looks very traditional. But yeah, it's just more that shape that I don't particularly like myself. So that's why 3.5 out of 5. Going to price next, and we're going to forgiveness last. The price, I'm giving this a 3.5 out of 5. You know, if you're looking second hand, like golf clubs cash, you're looking around £105, about $131. eBay, you're looking around £85, or around $106. You know, other options out there, sort of similar to this, sort of that more professional. You know, you sort of look at your Sim 2 Rescue, you're looking at Callaway Pro 21 Apex sort of thing from the same sort of years. However, they don't have the adjustability as this. So at the moment, I'm giving it 3.5 because it is in that sort of ballpark. And if you wanted to go further down the line and still get that adjustability, you can look at M1, M3, you know, hybrids from back in the day where they do have a track on the club. It is a little bit lower back the weight, but you do have that adjustability there. You save yourself a little bit more money by maybe looking at that. However, so I am doing this 3.5 at the moment. With the GT line coming up, I can imagine this club's going to drop in price a little bit more. So maybe if you're watching this in the future, maybe the hybrid's gone down by another £10. And then I think you're looking more close at 4.5. So at the moment, 3.5. I think when the GT line comes out and then suddenly TSR hybrids get flooded onto the market, it will drop this price. And I think the price will drop. And therefore, I think my rating would probably have gone up to 4.5 because it is a very good hybrid. Now, on to forgiveness. And this is not the sticking point, maybe the sticking point for someone such as myself, but not necessarily the sticking point for the type of player who is looking for this club. You know, the better ball strikers. Like I said, I only hit the face myself a few times in the middle. This club is not for me. But the better ball strikers out there who don't want to use, you know, that longer iron, just want a little bit more forgiveness. So overall, I have given this a forgiveness rating of 2 out of 5. Now, that's not great. However, that's a 2 out of 5 for a hybrid. If I'm comparing this to a longer iron, then yes, definitely you're going to have more forgiveness in it than, say, your utility irons that you can potentially use because there's more mass behind it. You know, you've got a bigger club behind it, you're going to get more forgiveness. So don't feel disheartened, basically, if you're watching this going, I really want to pick this up because I want to replace my long iron, but you're giving it a rating of 2 out of 5 for forgiveness. That is compared to other hybrids. So if you're comparing it to a long iron, that forgiveness rating would definitely be higher up there. So 2 out of 5. When it comes down to hybrid, this is not a forgiving hybrid, but it's not supposed to be. This is aimed for your better player, or your better players who basically want a little bit more forgiveness than your sort of, you know, your longer irons. You know, that's what they're looking for. And when it compares to the longer irons, then you've definitely got plenty of forgiveness in there for your better players. So 2 out of 5 overall. However, for the people who's looking at this to replace your longer irons, you'll be happy with the forgiveness, I think. You really will. Because as I mentioned myself, you know, this is definitely not a club for me. I won't be taking my Ping G430, maximum forgiveness hybrid out, because, you know, unless you're out the middle, you know, your distance really does drop down. Not a huge amount, you don't get me wrong. Do I want my hybrid going 220 yards? No, I'd probably be more happy if it was going around that sort of 2.7 on average, 2.05 on average. But I just feel, you know, I just want a little bit more, to be fair. A little bit more forgiveness, personally. You know, I don't want to be going, oh, club's going the perfect distance for me because I'm not hitting the middle of the face all the time. So there you go. But yeah, forgiveness, 2 out of 5. Compared to other hybrids, it's not that forgiving. So do be warned there. If you're always a hybrid person, this isn't probably the club for you. Now, just talking about the workability of it though, and the workability is fantastic. It really does do what it wants to do. You know, the whole point is it's supposed to be workable like a long iron. You know, I could do low shots in it. I could do the higher shots as well. You know, I got launched down one where got it down to 9 degrees, got another one all the way up to 16 degrees when I wanted to put it in the air. You know, moving that weight around, I could fade it. You know, I could put a good draw on it. Could even hit it straight as well. The ball flight I thought was really, really nice. Actually, I enjoyed the ball flight with this club. You know, not ballooning, not exactly penetrating, just really nice ball flight. So, you know, workability wise, it is great. And that's what Titleist has done with this club. And you can expect that because Titleist do produce really good clubs. They've done exactly what they want to do. They've produced that better player iron. It's got great distance, really, really good distance. And it's got that workability for the better ball strikers who forgiveness isn't going to be the top of their list. Definitely got enough forgiveness for those type of players. So there you go. All right, guys, so there is my review of the Titleist TSI3 Hybrid. Now, if you're watching this in a couple of months' time from when I first release it, which is in July, not May, in July, I can imagine the GT line is out, so do check this out even more because it'll probably be even cheaper than I'm saying in this video right now. So there you go. Now, as always, do remember to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon so you do not miss out on weekly ACS golf reviews. Comment down below, you know, do you play a Titleist Hybrid? If you do, I'd love to know your thoughts, and do give it a like if you enjoyed it. All right, guys, I'll catch you soon for the next ACS golf video. All right, see you then.